I see that they're wired. Are you in the we're not wearing wireless AirPods? Are you part of that deal?
I want to be like the cool kids and have wired headphones. They're making a comeback.
Yeah.
I refuse to wear the other ones too. So there's one of very few things we have in common. Matt, we just played a clip of you from 2017. So you have been.
I didn't hear it. Was I? Yeah. What was the clip?
So we go
very insightful.
It was great. You're always great when you're with us. But what we did was we're doing this other thing with our 10th anniversary where we go back and play different guest clips, and then Tausch and I have to guess the year. And Jesse, who's not working today, schnookered us because it was you talking about a quarterback. Nowhere in there do you say who it is, but we both thought you were talking about Jordan Love. And it turns out it was from 2017, and you were talking about Brett Hundley having to play for an injured Aaron Rodgers with a broken collarbone. So that's how long you've been supporting us, and thank you for your service. We appreciate you.
Well, I feel like even longer than that. I mean, Jason, I remember when you were you were cutting your teeth in the media. It was those were the early years. I remember full head of hair for all of us. Well, for you, not for me, but some hair. And Tausch, I remember you were a 7th-round pick, and Chad Clifton, I think, was our 2nd-round pick. And you came in, and that year Reggie White had just left Green Bay. And we played Reggie White and the Carolina Panthers on Monday Night Football, and there was this big presidential address, and the game got delayed, and we're all sitting in the locker room Monday Night Football. And let me tell you what everybody was talking about. Tausch, I don't know if you know this. They were like, we're screwed. Our 7th-round pick has to block Reggie White tonight. We are screwed. And Tausch, you did amazing that night. Like, you had a killer performance, and outplayed that 7th.
Was it you and Longwell? Who are the guys that were really down? Because at least I felt like everybody else was supportive. Were you one of those guys? They always say, "Don't be the two guys talking in the corner by yourselves." Was that you and Longwell doing that?
I think it was sort of the opposite. There were two guys saying, like, "No, he'll be fine." The rest of the locker room was like, "Oh, we're screwed. We're screwed tonight."
Yeah, it was none of the linemen, and it wasn't Bechtel. So yeah, it was probably. Well, I appreciate that, Matt. That's nice.
Reggie was older at that time, and the game got really late at night, and so maybe it was past his bedtime because you had a great night that night, and we were not expecting it. So I feel like anyway. I feel like I've been there since the beginning.
Well, in fairness, Hass, you were talking about last time you were on the show. You were blocking Reggie White when you were in Green Bay as a quarterback. You were lined up blocking him. So I take, that was a big night in my career. But, I mean, you did it in practice all the time, so how hard could it be?
Blocking's a strong word. He told me, he said, "Hey, man, just don't screw up practice." He did it with his Reggie White voice. He's like, "Hey, brother, just don't screw up practice here. Stay off the ground. Just 1,000, 2, 1,000, and then I'll throw you to the side. Just stay off the ground." So he really was one of the best teammates of all time, one of the best players of all time. But that when I hear your name, Tausch, I think of two things. I think of that night when we played Carolina and what you did against Reggie White. And I also thought how cool it was when you would get announced at Lambeau. Everyone would cheer. Like, Favre would get huge ovations. A couple other players would get huge ovations. But when they would say, however they would say it, "from Wisconsin," I'm getting goosebumps now. Like, Lambeau would just erupt. Like they would do that.
Let's go.
And it was cool, man. It was a thrill. People what was it like playing in Green Bay? What was it like playing at Lambeau? And it was epic. And I think part of it was that pregame. It was cool. And so, having you introduced, pretty neat.
You're such a good friend. It's ridiculous. I mean, nobody comes on here and talks about great moments in Mark Tauscher's career, and you just
not my co-host of 10 years. I can tell you that. That's a
lie. Hass, I saw on one of your social posts you talking about your time playing tight end on the scout team and blocking Reggie. I am curious because I think you are a great example of someone like Tausch, who was a 7th-round pick. You were a 6th-round pick. But the career that you built, but what you were willing to do until you got your opportunity and then how ready you were for it. I just think that's a great object lesson. And you've obviously got daughters that have turned out to be great athletes and sons and nephews and everybody else in your family. I'm curious, how much do you lean on that as kind of a, hey, Be ready when your moment comes. And I know it wasn't always easy in Seattle either, so you also have to be able to handle the adversity.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it goes back to my parents and how I was raised and, where I was raised, and things were not easy. The high school that I went to, it was tough. I had great coaches along the way, whether it was football or Little League baseball or basketball or whatever it was. But just specifically talking about that first year in Green Bay, I get drafted to the Green Bay Packers. I was in grad school. I wasn't expected to get drafted. I didn't get invited to the NFL Combine. I had a pro day and invited every team in the NFL to my pro day. Only one team showed up, the quarterback's coach for the Packers, Andy Reid. He's the only guy that shows up. And, so like I felt like I was a little bit sink or swim. I felt like I was lifting without a spotter is how I would tell it to the kids that I coach. The first time I ever got 225 pounds on the bench press, I didn't have a spotter, and I literally had no choice but to get it up. And that's a little bit how I think about my rookie year. I was very unlikely to make that team. And so, anything, like I just had to find a way, figure it out. And so it was scout team tight end, but it was also scout team punt returner, kick returner, personal protector on the scout punt team. Sean Landetta was the punter at the time. He didn't want to be Ryan Longwell's holder. So I was like, hey, I will be Ryan Longwell's holder. And they were like, well, Doug Peterson's a great holder. I'm like, fine, I'm going to work as hard as I can to be the backup holder to Doug Peterson. It was anything and everything that I could think of to do. Stealing signals on the sidelines, like whatever I could do to make myself valuable to the team. I think legally, but whatever I could do to make myself valuable to the team, I was going to do it. And fortunately for me, Andy Reid felt like Mike Holmgren was going to be moving on, which he did. But then Andy Reid moved on as well. Anyway, there were people in the building investing in the fourth string quarterback, which is unusual in an NFL locker room these days.
So, Matt, we spent a lot of time talking about Jordan Love on this show, obviously, and there's clearly a desire in the fan base for him to be the latest in the succession line of Favre Hall of Famer, Rodgers Hall of Famer. When you watch him, I feel every time I say he's a good to very good quarterback, and that's not good enough for a portion of the fan base. You play the position for a really long time in the league. How good is Jordan Love?
I think he's got the potential to be great. I think he could be that caliber of a guy. The consistency is what gets you there, though. And you got to go do it. And you got to attack every offseason as if this is the last year of your career and there's no looking back. And, I think for him, what he needs to do is probably lean into the fundamentals a little bit more. I know for me, when I was watching Brett Favre, one of the things that Mike Holmgren and Andy Reid would say is hey, listen, we don't want you to have his fundamentals. We want you to have the other things that he does, but we don't want you to have his fundamentals. And so there's a fine line between cutting it loose and playing free and playing sloppy. And I think Aaron Rodgers is another example of a guy who really took the great of the guy that he came after, and did it consistently in clutch and huge plays, but did it with sound fundamentals. Now, his fundamentals are a little bit different than other people's fundamentals. He's almost created his own style of quarterbacking. But at the end of the day, if you're missing throws and your fundamentals aren't on point, then that's going to be a problem. So do I believe in Jordan Love? I do. Do I think that he'll have a really good year this year? I do. But at the same time, just talking about it doesn't get it done. And so, I think you got to, if you just do what you've always done, you're going to be what you've always been. And so I think that he does need to sharpen the blade a little bit in some areas. And those areas for me are things, you got to be making all your layups, making all your free throws if you want to be that kind of guy that's going to be making your three-point shots in a sense.
So, Hass, when did it kind of click for you? Because I think for most players there's that spot where the physical lines up with the mental, and how you go about it. Usually it's about the age of where Jordan is, 26, 27, 28. When did it kind of, for you, all of a sudden start clicking?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer because I don't think it's like an age thing, and I don't think it's like a years in the offense thing. I think it's when the pieces of the puzzle, like play caller, quarterback coach, quarterback room, teammates, center, like everything's together. One of the most comfortable times of my NFL career that I felt would be my second and third years in Green Bay. Like I was dialed in that offense with those coaches, with those teammates. I felt like if I had to play, I never really got to play in the preseason, but I felt like I was as ready as I could have been and felt like I would have done great. Now, ironically, year 4, 5, 6 for me, really years 4 or 5, I'm in Seattle. I'm older. I'm more mature. In theory, I should have a better grasp of everything, but everything felt new. I was with new people. It was a lot of turnover, a lot of change. How I was training wasn't exactly how I felt my best. Like there's a lot that goes into those things, but I would say in this situation for this quarterback, I would agree. Like this is kind of that sweet spot where you should be able to have the best year of your career. Like you saw it. I think a good example might be Sam Darnold in Minnesota. Like everything just kind of came together. It's the same Sam Darnold. Everything just kind of came together. Right coaching staff, right play caller, right point of his training, his teammates. He had a phenomenal year, and everyone said, oh, it's just a one-year wonder. Well, he did it again last year in Seattle. So I just think that it's not necessarily just an age thing or just a years in a system. It's a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah, and going back to that, because obviously with the Bears' success and Chicago fans are letting Packer fans hear about it, what do you think when Caleb Williams, I keep arguing, and Caleb Williams, you have to give him credit. Big plays at big times of the game, but you can't do it in this league if you're completing 56, 57%. It's not sustainable, am I right?
Yeah, no doubt. And he had the clutch gene, no doubt about that. But, I mean, I would, in a sense, argue that he needed to be clutch because of how he played earlier in the game, in a lot of those games. So, what I like to do is I like to kind of read between the lines with what the head coach, the play callers, they're saying about their quarterback. I feel like that gives you the best sense of where that person, who I think you can trust the most, where he thinks his quarterback is. And, I just think that there was a tremendous amount of growth with Caleb Williams if you listen to what Ben Johnson was saying. But I don't think that I don't like, I know he's on the cover of Madden and all this stuff, but like I don't think Ben Johnson would have put him there right now. Like maybe someday in the future, but I don't think Ben Johnson feels like, oh, we can crown this guy as the best quarterback in this division. I don't think he's earned that. Now, what has he earned? He's earned, I think, the trust of his teammates. I think he's earned an ability to intimidate the opponent without saying a word. Like he gets the ball in 2 minutes. I feel like the opposing defensive coordinators and opposing defenses are like, oh, shoot, here we go. This guy's going to do something. Like he's got that to his game, which is really impressive. And his, like I said, his teammates believe in him. So like if you get in that kind of a moment and 2 minute drive, and this is what the great quarterbacks have, like your teammates absolutely believe like, oh no, we're good. We got the ball. Our quarterback's got the ball. We're good. And he's got that. And so that's something it's really hard to coach, or you can't even coach it in some ways. So that's a major factor. And I can't take that away from him.
Well, and I think you were just talking about making three-pointers. You have to make layups. It's almost like he's doing it opposite. He's hitting half-court shots, but he's not hitting the layups and the free throws early in the game. And so how do you go about, if you're Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, how do you get that up? What's that process like for you?
It reminds me in high school I would like not do the math homework and do the extra credit. It's like I don't know what that says about my personality. It's like the same thing. That's a little bit what it's like. Listen, I think the Bears have knocked it out of the park in terms of who they hired as GM, who they hired as head coach. This is an organization that has really failed in a lot of ways. The main way that they've failed is they haven't really had a GM and a coach align contractually, philosophically, and who the quarterback should be. And so it was a revolving door at quarterback and head coach because of that. I think they knocked it out of the park with Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson. I think they got the perfect guy to develop a young quarterback. He inherited Caleb Williams, a guy with a ton of potential and a ton of talent. And so if anybody can get it right, he'll get it right. And he's got a standard that he is, it's like not budging. Like you need to be able to call the play in the huddle. Like when he calls the play into the headset, the quarterback, whoever you are, needs to be able to regurgitate the play and say it with confidence in the huddle and not have a delay a game. Like these are the problems that they were having early on with him. When everyone wanted to say like, oh, it's the offensive line and this, that, like, okay. Like I'm not sure we're assigning blame in the right spot. Okay. And so I think that Ben Johnson came in with a clear, concise vision message of like, hey, here's some non-negotiables. You can't take sacks. You can't have penalties, false starts, delay a game. Like these are on you. And to Caleb's credit, he fixed all of those things. He went from being the most sacked guy to like one of the least sacked guys. Like he did a lot of these things. So when you talk about completion percentage and, hitting your layups and hitting guys that are open all the time, I know I can, just read between the lines, listening to Ben Johnson. That is the standard is clear. I do believe it's getting fixed. I do think that number will go way up for him.
Talking with Matt Hasselbeck on Wilde Tausch on the Yuengling guest hotline. Yuengling, America's oldest brewery, now in Wisconsin. DG Yuengling and Son, Pottsville, PA. Enjoy responsibly. All right, a few more for you, Matt, so you can go about your day, and we always appreciate how generous you are with your time. First of all, you said about Caleb Williams, hitting the open receivers and those layups. It felt like the Packers offense had a lot of those layups and I remember you coming on the show and explaining to us the way the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur offense was supposed to run with the play action and not knowing if it was a throw or a run 3 steps into the play. They kind of got away from that, ran a lot of duo blocking scheme because that's what Josh Jacobs likes. Matt LaFleur says this offseason we're going to go back to a year one approach. Do you see them going back to that? And if so, what does that do for their offense?
Yeah, I think they absolutely will because the teams that had the best year, I know the Patriots and the Seahawks were in the Super Bowl, and so in theory, those are the 2 best teams, but those were not the 2 best teams. The 2 best teams last year were the Seahawks and the Rams. And so what are they doing? They're running that call it Mike Shanahan offense. They're running inside zone. They're running the play action. They're doing everything that Matt LaFleur really, truly believes in. And so it is a copycat league that way. I think everyone's getting back to that kind of stuff. For sure, the Packers believe in it. Like Matt LaFleur, when he dreams up plays in his sleep at night, like these are not like you're not going to be able to tell, I don't believe, between the 49ers, the Packers, the Rams, the Seahawks. Like they believe in the same things philosophically. So that's what I would expect to see. And, that's the thing about the offseason. Everybody, kind of goes to the drawing board and OTAs and people say, oh, is it really important? It's important for the coaches because they want to see if their ideas and their whiteboard creations fit and if they work and if they're as good as you think. It's a little bit like going to the driving range and you try out all your different clubs so that when you go play 18 holes, yeah, I can pull out that sand wedge, that lob wedge, that hybrid, that 3-wood. Maybe I use a 5-wood. Like you don't know unless you practice it. And that's what I believe that the Packers are talking about, getting back to what they firmly believe in and getting guys like your starting running back to believe in inside zone as an example or outside zone when he thinks in his head, hey, I'm a duo guy. We dealt with that with Marshawn Lynch when he first got to Seattle. We were an Alex Gibbs inside-outside zone running team, and Marshawn came in and he said, I run power. And it's like, okay, great, you do run power. We can run power, but we also need to know what the bread and butter is for our team, and that's going to be inside or outside zone. And there's a transition that happens there in a sell job, so to speak, from the coaching staff to the players, your great players, to say, hey, I need you to be great at this as well.
So as a coach, you got to sell that. You got to sell that to Josh Jacobs.
I believe there's a little bit of finessing where you got to say, hey, listen, here's why I have a vision for how this can be so great for you, and here's what it is. And if I'm them, I'm saying, look, Ken Walker Jr., we believe you're every bit as good as Ken Walker Jr. He was the MVP of the Super Bowl last year. He's got a Super Bowl ring and an MVP trophy at his house. That's what we want for you. Here's how we do it. It's like those kinds of conversations. Like I heard Tom Brady recently talking about how wide receivers are divas across the NFL. And you might catch 11 passes, and then the next game you catch 3 passes. And you did an equally as good a job, but like there's stuff that's happening around you that's sort of bigger than your just your situation. And you almost got to go to that guy and say, hey, listen, by the end of the year, no matter what happens, you might have some games of 3 catches. You're going to have 110 catches, and you're going to the Pro Bowl. You're going to have 110 catches, Pro Bowl, and we're competing for a Super Bowl. You almost got to broaden the horizon a little bit. It's like, hey, stick with me, trust me, I'm on your side. Here's my goal for you. Here's our goal for us. And our way we get our goal for us is this, and you sell it. And I think you can do the same thing with running backs, whether it's the run game, pass protection, or even in the passing game as a running back, and you show them how it fits. Hey, your runs are going to be open if we lead with the play action. This is how, and show teams, show the Rams, show the Seahawks. Look what they did. They put up almost 1,000 yards of offense, those 2 teams in the NFC Championship game. That can be us. So, yeah, I do think there's a little bit of sell job on it. Got to put on your, I don't know what it is. Sales? Is it sales? Is it, I don't know.
Yeah, sales.
Real estate agent? What is it? I don't know.
Hey, now that you're getting older, how many tight lie, you're using no more irons? Are you using the old tight lie, Adams tight lies now, or are you still an iron guy?
No, fun thing. I just got my middle daughter, Mallory. She just accepted a coaching job at Penn State. They're in the Big Ten, if you didn't know, Tausch.
I heard
coaching
that,
lacrosse.
Yeah.
Coaching lacrosse, but I got her fitted for new golf clubs. And because she was using the clubs that she was using as a kid or whatever. And so she's using steel shaft, men's, regular, like she's got like a 92 mile an hour swing. So I'm at that point in my life where I'm actually more interested in my kids' golf game than my own golf game, if that makes any sense. But yeah, kind of fun when you get to that point.
All right, so you are at a point in your life where you've also celebrated your 50th birthday. This never actually happened, but I think I told you this. I always had this hope when you went into that phase of your career where you were the savvy veteran backup that you'd come back. And that obviously never happened, and Rodgers was Rodgers, etc. But the Packers now...
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
What do you got?
Well,
is there some news?
I played till I was 40.
I know.
Andrew Luck was hurt. I started 9 games that year. I lost hearing in my right ear because I got hit by Whitney Merciless so hard in my chin. And I was like, okay, I think we're good. I think we're not. Everyone in my draft class had retired. Peyton Manning retired. Charles Woodson retired. I retired the next day. My goal was to outlast everyone in my draft class after I wasn't invited to the combine. I accomplished my goal. I was like, I'm good. I don't need to be hit anymore.
Well, Hass, you came back as that backup. You weren't expecting. You didn't want to play 9 games. You wanted to sit back and steal signs from the opposing team.
Well, in my head, I was like, I want to just be one play away to hoist the Lombardi. Like I want to be like we were in Indy. We were in the AFC Championship game. Like we were getting there. We were close. I wanted to be on a good team, have a chance. But no, I did. I expected Andrew Luck was going to be playing most of the games, and then when I got in there, I thought I'd just be like handing the ball off to Frank Gore. It wasn't exactly like that. We were losing a little bit. A lot of 2-minute drills in the third quarter. A little different. 2-minute drill in the third quarter is not that fun.
You did get your hearing back eventually, though, right? You just did. It was temporary. Okay, good.
I did. Yeah, it was yeah.
They've got Tyrod Taylor now for Jordan Love, and a guy like you were obviously you were a great player as a starter, but as a backup, what does he get now by having a guy like Tyrod Taylor who's 37? How much does that help Jordan Love?
I think it can. I think the best thing a backup veteran can do for you is kind of compete with you. You see it right now with Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza. Like you're competing in everything. It's almost like who's the better note taker, like who shows up to the meeting first, who's lifting more weight, like it just all the stuff. Like you're competing in everything. Quarterback coach says, all right, guys, what's this coverage? 2-man. Like it's just like, oh, you're on it. What's this? What's the front? What's the blitz here? It's an under front, 3-fire zone, strong dog. Like you're just like iron sharpening iron in that regard. And, I remember even when, Brett Favre was the starter, obviously, when I was there, but Doug Peterson was there and Rick Meyer was there. And when I got to Seattle, I had guys like Trent Dilfer and Jeff George and, a lot of Brock Heward and a lot of different guys that I just felt like we were always making each other better and just competing in everything. I mean, it could be like we get per diem and it was, all right, we're going to rock, paper, scissors for our per diem. And it's, it was just fun and like, didn't feel like you're going to work. And you had someone that'd been there, done it. And even on your down days, you'd sit there and you'd want to complain. And that veteran quarterback's like, oh man, that's nothing. Like, listen to what happened to me. And all of a sudden you hear his sob story and you're like, oh shoot, like I don't have it that bad. You really got to run out of town. So like I remember one time this guy was like, man, my offensive line, they're really struggling. I'm like, bro, I played for a team. They had a 7th round pick at right tackle. Okay. You should have seen this dude with his
Walter
shirt off.
Jones. Yeah, you had it rough. You had Walter Jones protecting you. Who's the greatest lineman of all time?
Can you imagine playing against Reggie White on Monday Night Football and you got a right tackle who was drafted in the 7th round? Who doesn't even know where a barber is to cut his hair? Like, bro.
Yep.
All right, we need
like? Barber.
We need to let you go because we would keep you for another whatever. Last thing, you played till you were 40. Rodgers is going to turn 43 in December. He's with your old quarterbacks coach for a year, Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh, at the ripe old age of almost 51. What are your expectations for that Pittsburgh pairing?
I think he's going to do really well as long as he has learned from his mistakes in, when he was with the New York Jets. I think you got to change how you play as you get older. You can't be Michael Jordan anymore. I think you got to be a little bit more point guard, distributor. I think that's probably, I don't think he needs my advice. I think he probably has learned it. But you need to lean in on the run game. You got to look at things through the lens of the offensive line. You don't necessarily move the way that you want. See, your arm is great. Your arm can play. His arm could probably play for 10 more years. But I don't think his body is as elusive and all that. So I just think he needs to change the style of play. Sometimes you got to humble yourself and allow yourself to be, coached, even when you're one of the greatest of all time. And so I do think it'll be a good pairing. I think the most important thing to me, and I was in Pittsburgh around the time of the draft with a lot of the Steelers players, those guys love and respect their quarterback. They absolutely love Aaron Rodgers. And while that's not always what's portrayed nationally in the media, when your locker room feels that way about you, I believe that that's the most important thing. And he's got that. So if he can tweak his game just a little bit, I think they could win that division.
Hass, we love you, buddy. We appreciate you so much. You could have said no. You didn't. Go back to your helmets and your balls. We appreciate you. Thanks.
He's got a lot of balls. Thanks, guys.
Matt Hasselbeck, ladies and gentlemen, he is the GOAT. We are lucky that he has always been so good to us, and he is our 10 for 10 for today, presented by Outdoor Living Unlimited.
Indeed he is, and you know what? We are excited to be working with Outdoor Living Unlimited as well. Sarah and I met with Aaron and Eric Brown, the brothers and owners of Outdoor Living Unlimited, and they're the right folks for us. We share the same hardworking values. The fact that Outdoor Living Unlimited is a family-owned and locally operated company is fantastic. Cannot wait to get started on our project. We checked out their showroom down on Stoughton Road. If you're looking for a new deck, outdoor kitchen, screen room, Outdoor Living Unlimited, they have it all. Start with OutdoorLivingUnlimited.com and end with an amazing outdoor space. Check them out at OutdoorLivingUnlimited.com.
All right, we've got